Eddie.
Hey, Ronnie.
How are you, man?
All right.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to Live from LA County podcast. This is our little experiment so that we are kind of documenting our department heads and getting to know them and sharing a little bit about who they are, how they got to where they are, right? I know a little bit about you, but I'm fascinated to learn a bit more about your path, right? Your path to success. So welcome to Live from LA County podcast.
Oh, wow.
Right, so I had to put on the podcast voice. So today, folks, we're honored to speak with Eddie Yin. He's executive officer for the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors. It's a big job, right? Mr. Yin brings nearly 2 decades of government experience and leads a department vital to ensuring that the Board of Supervisors functions smoothly and transparently. This man is responsible for a budget of about $340 million and has nearly 500 budgeted positions and oversees administration of the board and is responsible for preparing the board's weekly agendas and the board's official records. So without further ado, let's get into it, man.
All right.
Is
there going to be a theme music playing over this?
Yeah, we'll put okay, so
I see it about here in my head.
That is hilarious because there will be a song. There will be a question that comes up later where I need you to remember that thought.
All right.
So one of the questions that we ask everyone that comes in here, what's your LA story?
All right. Well,
professionally, personally, like what has LA meant to you?
Yeah. Well, I think so my LA story is I'm a kid of LA County. I was born in Lancaster, California, but how I got there was my dad came here in the 1960s, went to school in Atlanta, Georgia, Georgia Tech, became an architect, couldn't find a job out there. So he went west and went to LA, still couldn't find a job as an architect. So he did, I guess, what any Chinese American would do. He opened a Chinese restaurant.
Got it.
So you have an architect for your chef.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of, worked odd jobs. I think at one point he worked for Edwards Air Force Base, drafting some stuff for some people out there. At one point he drove from Lancaster to Downey. That was his daily commute. So we were very much part of that. So by the time I was born in the 1970s, we're right in the whatever that 1970s culture is.
Yeah.
I'm a 1980s kid, so I'm a Gen Xer, which means, whenever we have 80s parties, we're like, oh yeah, let's get our hair up, get some leg warmers on. So I'm a total LA kid, wearing shorts 365 days of the year because it's LA. And then just eventually got settled down, went to college at USC, but at the end of the day, I'm a kid from the 80s where, latchkey kid, right? We made our own breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
That's right.
We didn't have after-school program. After-school program was someone's house with maybe one parent or grandparent maybe watching us. So we did all that type of stuff, so there's a little bit of independence.
Yeah.
I think our generation, the Gen X generation, needs a little bit more credit than we usually get.
Yeah.
And because of that, being someone who is so appreciative of what this country has brought for my family, I feel like the purpose for me is just to give back. So in a sense, my LA story it's a story of what a lot of other, I think immigrants have too, which is very proud to be in this country, very, very fortunate, and just really glad I'm able to give back by working for the County of Los Angeles.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Let me, you mentioned about your dad and about his efforts to do what he trained for, right? Mm-hmm. And not having those doors open for him.
Yeah.
And then you talked about the restaurant. Let me ask you, like, when they owned the restaurant, did you work in the restaurant? Did you, or the restaurant came before you?
Came before me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And the thing is, I don't think people recognize, because immigration is not something people talk about in this country. A lot of people don't even know about immigration. I didn't really know about immigration. I mean, I'm an American citizen. I was born here. But people had to wait. So he had to work, have a business, applied for a green card, and then waited a while for citizenship. Heck, I don't even know if my birth helped with the citizenship or not. But it's just those type of things that you just don't know until you start asking. And I honestly didn't know until years later, just as I was with my wife, and she had her own immigration story. So I'm just very appreciative of just being an American citizen. I think we don't really think about the struggles that a lot of people have just trying to stay in this country. For sure. And let me just tell you, the words that you are speaking today, I'm sure are resonating with some folks, especially in light of where we find ourselves today with this, with the current administration and the current rhetoric, sentiment as it relates to immigration, right? Yeah.
And I know that the county's trying to do a lot for our immigrant population. Is your department working in any ways on any of those issues? You know what? Obviously, our department isn't a really public-facing, service-oriented department, but I think what we found is we are kind of the gateway to the services for the rest of the department, rest of the county, because we have the Board of Supervisors. The Board of Supervisors are the ones who dictate the policies and the legislation, the actions that the rest of the county moves. So we want to be the eyes and ears. If people have issues and complaints about things that are coming to the county, they obviously will go to the Board of Supervisors. We have to make sure that medium of communication to the board is open. And then vice versa, going back out, which is the supervisors, when they want to make sure that their board priorities or what they're trying to do, that message is going out. They have their commissioners that they could also translate that information out to those communities. Yeah. Let me ask you a little bit about your leadership and your journey into leadership. Tell me, I know you're a lawyer, right? Yeah. So you are an attorney. Where'd you go to law school? I went to Loyola Law School in Los Angeles. Okay. Yeah. And did you see yourself, right? I think vision and visualizing where you want to be. Did you visualize yourself being at the county? I did not visualize myself being in a county. I didn't even know what a county was. Nice, okay. I'm trying to think, when I was a lawyer just practicing law, did I even know what district I lived in? I want to say I did. If I met one of the supervisors, I would say, yeah, of course I knew. But honestly, I don't even know if I knew back then. But I just found out about county because, I think like a lot of lawyers, young lawyers, they're working for a law firm and you're billing hours. You have no idea what direction you're going. A friend of mine just said, hey, there's this place called county council. You may want to apply. Yeah. And I looked at the opportunities, the work that county council was doing, and I'm like, I think this would be a great place for me to just land for five years, and then I'm going to leave. I'm going to get my knowledge, and I'm going to open up my own shop, and then I'll practice on my own. So that's how I knew about the county. Yeah. And and then the opportunities kept flowing, right? At least the way that I've seen it, the county is such a big, dynamic place that when you think that one position that you landed on when you got here, that you'll kind of do what you need to do there, grow from it, and move on. But the reality is there's plenty of growth within the county, right? There is, but, and you know this, and I think a lot of employees feel this too, which is they get into their department and then it becomes so myopic. All they know is their department, because they don't really know that there's 38 other departments, there's all these other organizations out there, there might be commissions. They don't understand the opportunities that are out there because they don't see the bigger picture. But I'll say, for me, I did not see that at all. What happened for me, and I think what happened with a lot of people, I came in the county at 2005, and my 5-year plan, would have been, misdirected because we had the 2008 financial crisis. Yes. And then that's when I saw a lot of friends of mine, they got laid off. They got no jobs. But the county, they were able to maintain jobs. Solid, huh? Solid. And I think that's why, to me,
That was one of the reasons. That COVID, all of these years, it's like this commitment that the county has to its employees. Like, I recognize that, and then to me, I'm just so grateful for that opportunity. So I'm like, I gotta stick with it. I want to do all I can to help the constituents and also the employees in the county.
You've been in the assessor's office, county council, now the executive office of the board. So you've seen how a few different departments operate. How have these different operations and roles that you've had shaped your sense of leadership and what you want to do in your new department?
Well, like each of those departments, and they have very different functions, right? When I was in county council, I was providing advice to many departments. I think I've advised at least probably half, maybe 20 departments in some way or function. And your role as an attorney really is to help research and to help analyze. You're not really making the decisions. The decisions, they're the clients. They're like yourself.
Yes.
And you go to county council, you go, I need some advice. You're the one who makes the decision. So I didn't really understand the decision-making part until I got to the assessor's office. And at the assessor's, that's where I learned, wow, you're the decisions that are made, you're the one who has to make it, and you'll be in trouble if something goes wrong. But what I also learned just being at the assessor's office was actually managing people.
Yes.
When you're an attorney, yes, you engage with people, you're working with people. People are listening to you. But you know why? Because you're the attorney. And one day, if something goes wrong, it's my attorney told me to do that. but once you're actually in that management position,
yes,
you hold people's careers in your hands. So it's like, there's more that you need to do for them. And that the assessor's office gave me that entree into management, thinking not just about myself and my work, but also thinking about the people who are doing the work that I'm assigned to. But the other part of the assessor's office, what it gave me, it gave me the outlook of what do I need to do to really think about constituents, because I worked for an elected.
Yes.
And so working for an elected, you have to be very, very focused on what services you're providing to the public, because you're getting calls. Like I would get calls from taxpayers and having to solve their problems right then and there, and they were at their most dire needs, their most lowest point in their times. So you recognize that. Moving to the executive office, in a sense, I don't get the direct constituent questions, but the impact is much bigger, because if the board doesn't get those calls and they're not able to answer, it's going to impact a lot more people.
Yes.
And obviously they're going to call the department heads or departments and say, hey, we got to solve these problems that the constituents are calling for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eddie, I'm gonna share a perspective about you that I've never shared this with you, but I'm sure that, and I'd love for you to kind of talk about this. Eddie is probably one of the most involved individuals I know. And when I say involved, you have committed to some of the affinity groups in Los Angeles County.
Yeah.
You show up for our Asian American County Employees Association. You show up at the events for our African American Employees Association. You show up at our Hispanic managers meetings. Like, I am constantly impressed by your presence. And so why? First of all, why? Like, why has that been important for you? And what has it done for you, personally, professionally?
Thank you for that question, and thank you for that observation too. I think it goes back to me being an LA kid in the 80s, growing up in the 80s and 90s. I was born and raised here. I mean, all the education that, if you're learning about the history of how the country was created, how a bill becomes a law. I mean, MLK, Caesar, I've read those. Those were my class, materials. So for me, when I think of LA, when I think of this country,
yes,
I think about that diversity. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's like, it just makes sense. Like, that is normal to me. Look, and this might be a little bit too embarrassing, but some people already know this. I went to a Boyz II Men concert and I swooned when they sang, on bended knee. I mean, I was the kid in the
That
90s.
kid.
Like that's the stuff I did. But then I listened to like, banda music because, where my parents had a business where we had a lot of, Mexican bands come by. So I just listened to that, like just seeing the lowrider culture. And then of course, always the Asian community and all the different diverse countries and cultures out there. So to me, it's like, that's what LA is.
That's right.
So to me, it makes no sense to be so segregated when I myself am so immersed in everything already. And that's why the way I look at it is we've had an interesting, immigration wave. A lot of people have come, people don't know this 90s and 2000s. So there are a lot of immigrants in this country who just don't know the history. And I think my effort in being involved in all the affinity groups is how can we learn from all the different cultures and groups and start sharing that information with everyone? Because once we know about each other more, what we'll realize is we're all coming from the same place.
Absolutely.
And all we're trying to do is we're trying to survive. We're trying to have a family, grow that family, have kids, have grandkids. We're all wishing and driving for the same purpose. Yeah. And so that's why for me, that's what the affinity groups and being involved in communities, organizations. I'm on various nonprofits on the boards. I make sure I take my kids, like if we're doing volunteer work, I take them out. It's just something that I believe in. I just believe that this is what makes this country what it is.
Yeah, yeah. I was at your swearing in, and for those of you, our county employees that weren't there, it was an impressive show of solidarity amongst any number of community leaders and folks that clearly you've interacted with, that you showed up for. And when it was kind of that moment for them to celebrate you, they were there, man. Yeah. They were there, and they showed up in droves. I was so impressed. Yeah. I really was impressed by what I saw.
It was a little embarrassing. I didn't think there were going to be that many people, but I was very thankful for that to even have happened. It honestly, being a department head, it still feels a little bit surreal at times. I think my focus has been, I have a mission and I have a purpose, and I'm just driving towards that mission and that purpose. There's this saying that I heard from a former city manager of City of Pasadena. I was at this event, and he just kind of said this phrase, and I thought it was so apropos for so many of us government employees. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you may have felt this before. He said, perseverance with good intentions. Mm-hmm. I mean, as long as you move forward that direction, man, it's like, I think that's all, we just do that and everything else will just turn out right.
Yeah, just keep moving the work forward.
Yeah.
Keep moving it forward. You just brought up your department, and I love for folks listening to have an understanding of, and you talked a bit about it earlier, but what's your department's mission, right? I know who you serve.
Yeah.
And I know, you're serving at the pleasure of the board, and you're, doing all of that. But what's your mission for you and your team and your department?
That's, that's such a great question because, and you gave all the answers, right? But that's the thing. I think a lot of people, they focus on the task and the responsibilities that we have. Like they say, we have the board meetings, we make sure the board meetings move forward. Less known are the commissions. Or even some of the oversight bodies that I oversee for the supervisors. But at the end of the day, if you really think about our purpose, my office, it's to make sure that the people of the LA County understand that the board serves them. Now, how we do that, we do it through board meetings. We have these Brown Act bodies, these transparent board meetings, making sure that the people have an opportunity to speak at the board meetings, making sure that they know there's an agenda that's being posted. We have these commissions where they have commissioners who do outreach to their communities, and they learn about what's going on, and they go back to the supervisors to let them know what's going on in their communities. And then we have opportunities to, when they have events, that's when the supervisors are going out. Where are they able to go? They have to make sure they're connected with their cities and their other nonprofit groups. So I find that my job more and more is to make sure that when the opportunity comes, that the board's able to get their message out to the people.
Got it. How important is mentoring for you? First of all, do you have a mentor? Have you had a mentor in your career? And how important is it for you at this level?
Oh, I mean, come on. I mean, that's why, is it in our MAP goals or what? Mentorship is so important, but I know it's hard, it's so difficult sometimes for people to find mentorship. I think you get mentorships in many different ways, right? You have your professional mentorship, whether it's someone at work, or it could be just an uncle or a family member, or just a friend outside. What I've learned is I need mentorship in different levels. You have your professional, like how can you mentor me through guiding me, talk me through how to do some management stuff. But then there's also mentorship in people skills. Just how do I react and act with people if I somehow, like a relationship is strained, maybe I said something. So it's just having mentors to help you in different aspects of your career, your life, I think just helps you. And it's so important, but I recognize that sometimes it's difficult, and that's why DHR or the Management Council tries to create these mentorship programs and really be proactive to engage people, and I really appreciate that. Always try to lend my time to be a mentor, especially these formal programs, but what I found myself to doing is I do a lot of informal mentoring.
Got it.
And a lot of that is just reaching out and saying, here, let's have a conversation, let's have a coffee or something like that. But I will say, for those who want to be mentees, it's up to you to ask for the mentorship too. You can't be waiting for a mentor to show up. Because, there's a lot of people who want us to be mentors, but those who are a little bit more proactive and seeking the mentorship will probably get the call back.
Do you have a mentoring moment that stuck with you?
A mentoring moment that stuck with me.
Yeah.
Well, I guess there's so many, and I'm trying to narrow down what really would come out. Let me see. Let me think about this.
We can come back to it. You give it some thought, right?
Yeah, I'll give it some thought.
I'm one of these people that when you have multiple pathways that you can take, right?
Yeah.
I know, there are people that will advise you, and if you had taken the other route, right? You potentially would not be. I don't think I'd be who I am today, and where I am today. It's just these points in your life, and people that you've leaned on to say, hey, what do you think? How should I approach this situation? How do I go into an interview with the Board of Supervisors and really show them how prepared I am for this challenge?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. See, Rodney does such a good. He's like, lay it all out, and then. So something really early on in my career. This is when I was first an attorney, and I was working for a law firm. I was essentially a clerk, but I had already passed the bar, and I was doing some work for this attorney, and I wasn't doing something right. And then something that he said, and I kind of had a feeling I knew I was doing something wrong, and he just said something, and I don't know why it clicked. But he's like, Eddie, you're an attorney, right? I'm like, yeah. He's like, think like an attorney. And from then on, that perspective, I've always kind of gone into my work with that perspective. So if I became a manager, then it's like, Eddie, think like a manager. What would other managers do?
Yeah.
And, nowadays, it's easy. You go on ChatGPT, you go, what does a manager do? But it's taking me time to kind of learn and grow, because I've constantly asked myself that question. It's like, what would and then fill in the position that you were in at that time.
Yeah. And
just kind of put yourself in the shoes of the position you're in, then put yourselves in the shoes of the person who's receiving whatever conversation that you're having.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
There are folks that are going to be listening to this. They've never even thought about, they're in DPSS or DHR or you name the department, and they've never thought about your department as a potential career option, right? To move, to serve your department and to serve the board. Talk to us a little bit about your vision, right? You're one of our newest department heads, and I'm sure folks are interested in like what are some of your plans on where you want to take this department, and how do you make it better?
Thank you, Rodney, for letting me give my pitch, my recruitment pitch for my department.
Let's do it.
So the way I look at my department is we are essentially one of the central service departments. Now, the way that you can look at us and how it's impactful for other departments and employees from other departments is this. Every single department needs to file a board letter. And if they want their budget, their contracts, whatever it is, you're going to have to file a board letter. You may not know this, but your department needs to file correspondences, and it has to go through my office. So if you come to my office, the executive office, you will learn what every single other department has to do. So it's just like contracting. If you need to know contracting, you got to go to contract. If you want to work in HR, you got to go to HR.
Yeah.
You want to do budget, you got to go to either do some audit, or you got to go to CEO. So if you want to know how to file board letters, you want to know how the board thinks, all those report backs and all that kind of stuff, you got to come to my department, because on Tuesday, that's when the action happens.
Yeah.
That's one of the most important days of the week, years, because if you want to know how your department moves and act, it's all about the board of supervisors, executive office, and what we do there in maintaining the legislative process.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my pitch.
And I'm going to throw it out to the audience that'll be listening. Pay attention to the board meetings. Yeah. If you are not every now and then catching your board meetings and hearing the nuggets that are coming from our board, that are coming from our department heads, that are coming from some of the presentations, take a read of some of the submissions, and get to become familiar with the direction that we're going in, and figure out, for many of us, I've then been able to figure out, okay, what can I do from where I stand, from where I sit, to feed into what I'm hearing the board say they'd like to see, right? So I'm encouraging our audience to pay attention.
I'll add, historically, I don't know if you were in the offices back in the day, they used to have those speaker boxes that are directly connected to the boardroom, and then you just turn on the speaker box and then you get the board meetings. That was how important the board meetings were to all the departments. They created a special box with a line directly into the board meeting room just to listen to the board meeting. I'll also encourage employees to really focus on board meetings in this aspect. If you want to show off to your managers, especially if they have a beeline to the department head, it's this. To help your department head, you need to have an idea of the direction that the board is going and the policies that they're making. If you don't know what's happening in the boardroom, how in the heck are you going to advise them? The other thing is, why do you think we all have subscriptions to periodicals, LA Times, or whatever? It's because you need to know what's currently happening, right? If there's some issues out there in the public, it's going to come to the supervisors because they have to deal with it. So that's why we're all paying attention to all of that. We're glued to our phones.
For sure.
We're reading the newspapers or the news and everything like that because we want to make sure we're aware of what's going out there in the society.
Yeah, we're such a big workforce that we have the opportunity to drive. Like, we can drive change in our communities. 100,000 plus employees. If we together figure out, okay, we want to educate our employees on something that matters in the community, we can see change. So I appreciate that point. Let me ask you about, and this question is not one that I am necessarily proud of, but I know you are. And I'm about to talk about USC, right?
Oh, but I'm wearing a Dodger tie, apparently.
Oh, well, hey, now we're on the same page, right? Go Dyers. So look, I know you're a proud USC Trojan. I know you're a sports fan. You've talked about how you've been all things LA, and similar to me, grew up, raised, all college. LA's everything, right? And you've talked about also your connection to the community. Talk to me a bit more about the connection to LA County. I know you mentioned it earlier, but and I don't even know if you get much time off, but where are some of your haunts? Where do you like to go to relax here in LA County?
Yeah, I mean, right, I'd started off, I'm an LA County kid, lifer, right? Born in Lancaster, northern part of LA County, 5th District. Spent some time in the 4th District in Cerritos, Monterey Park, 1st District, worked out in Santa Monica, right, 3rd District. So I've been all over the place.
Yeah.
I guess the haunts, it's the San Gabriel Valley.
Okay.
That's that's where my dad landed in his business and did a lot of real estate development back in the day. There are places that were like very industrial, and then they're just now nice commercial places. So San Gabriel Valley is kind of where I hang out. That's hang out. But I'll tell you, I was an avid basketball player, and I would join a lot of rec leagues, and we would go all over the place. I mean, we'd East LA, we'd go all the way to the east in Hacienda Heights. I mean, I played ball in Santa Monica. We'd be in, I think there was one league which was in like North Compton. I mean, we were just all over the place. And that basketball has also given me an opportunity to travel to many different places to just see LA.
Yes.
And that's why for me, it's hard for me to want to say LA is just this. To me, LA is everything. And I know like people they always talk about how San Francisco and New York, it's like I could just spit and I'd be in the next neighborhood or something. And I get it. In LA, we have to drive to get to the other neighborhood.
Indeed.
But when you get there and that destination, there's so much more. It's not just one building, right? It's not just one block. It could be a whole city.
Yes.
It could be multiple cities together.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the great things about LA County. That's why I hope during the Olympics, when people come, it's not just about the city of LA, it's going to be the entire LA County. Yeah. We have so much that we have in this county to share with the world. But yes, you're probably going to have to take a car. Hopefully we have some trains up. But that's why I love LA County. I'm an LA County guy.
All right. So those were the hard questions.
All right.
It really was just making sure that the audience got a sense of you and who you are and your department. We have something we call the lightning round, right? So we have this lightning round, and I'm just going to ask you some questions, and you tell me what's the first thing that comes to mind. Okay. All right. So, what made your experience at USC so impactful? In 3 words or less.
Oh, gosh. Business, fraternity, and sports.
What is something you are thankful for?
My family.
Past or present, your biggest cheerleader?
My grandmother.
Song or artist in rotation for you right now?
Man, in my head, I just went with "Let's Get It On."
Little Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
All right. It's interesting when you started this conversation, you had said, "Cue the theme music."
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
What do you walk into if you walk into a room and the theme music played? Because Dodger Stadium, that's how it is. What would be yours?
It'd probably be it'd be R&B.
R&B. Okay, you're going there.
I'm a 90s R&B guy. I mean, it's like I said, it's all the smooth stuff. I love Motown. I love the music there. I'm getting into jazz. My daughter's playing trombone, so I'm like, ooh, let's get into jazz together. But yeah, I've been a big R&B guy. People would go, there's like hip hop, rap, and I'm like, oh, it's Eddie. He wants R&B. And that's, you're going with the smoother stuff.
Understood. What's a decision you made early in your career that you're especially proud of?
Probably joining the county. That's I think at one point you asked different directions that you would have gone. I mean, I probably could have consistently just gone private and just try to figure out a way there. But I think what the county did for me is it gave me purpose. Right? When you're serving people, when you're trying to find solutions for a greater good, it gives you a sense of identity of what you want to do. And I think joining the County of Los Angeles has been probably the definitive point of my life. I don't know how else I could have got here. Maybe it would have been working for a nonprofit. Maybe another government agency. At one point, I was even looking at the FBI. I had some friends recommend, like, hey, you should join the FBI or something like that. I had friends who worked for the Secret Service. But I joined this County of LA, and then I found purpose here.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Favorite food?
Favorite food, lasagna. I can't have any because it's too high in carbs. Sure.
Too high in carbs, all right. Next LA sports team to win a championship.
Oh, isn't that easy? It's going to be the Dodgers.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that was a setup. We softball.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
All right. So if you didn't have your current position, what would you be doing?
Oh, are you talking about a dream job?
Sure.
Man, my dream job was going to be the general manager of the Lakers.
Got it. Okay. All right.
So Jeannie Buss.
Okay. Hey, for those of you that know Jeannie, my man, well, he's busy right now, so it would take a lot, but no, that's impressive, man.
Yeah.
And I know, what position do you play in basketball? All over the place. You just play.
I can't dribble. I can't dribble that well. So I set a
no guard.
So I play center.
Okay. All right. What is something people who know you would be surprised to learn about you?
I like musicals.
Give me two.
Oh, this is kind of embarrassing, but I like old stuff. We're talking about like White Christmas. I was a big Jerry Lewis fan.
Okay.
So Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis. That I don't know why. It's if I say it's my jam, I think it's too. But you know what it is? I grew up 80s and 90s. What do we do?
Yeah.
You got Channel 5, you got Channel 13.
Yeah.
You got reruns of everything.
That's right.
I was watching reruns of Kung Fu movies too.
Yeah.
So you're watching that stuff. We were watching all sorts of stuff because you only had a couple channels that you could really watch.
Okay.
And so those were the things that were on TV.
Yeah, and you've come to love them. All right, that was our lightning round. So we're gonna just move into. I'm gonna close this out because I've every one of these conversations that I've had, I've learned just a little bit more about the people who are sitting, the department heads who are sitting across from me, and I really do appreciate you sharing. And you being open with our employees and possibly others who are interested in joining the county now that they've heard your county story. So just a few closing questions. If you could solve any problem, like within your current field, within your department, is there anything that you're working on to kind of close the loop on to make better?
It's probably the understanding of what the county does. I don't know about you, but this still happens to me to this day. When I tell my family I work for the County of Los Angeles, the response I get is, so how is the city?
Okay.
And that's just because people don't have the county in front of mind. And I think people don't recognize the importance that the Board of Supervisors have in their lives.
Yes.
And so I think on a day-to-day basis, I just try to remind people, it's like, I know you know your city council. And it's great that you want to vote for Karen Bass for the city of LA mayor, but the problem is you don't live in the city of LA.
Yes.
But what you do is you live in one of 5 supervisorial districts, and there are people in that district that you need to know about. So it's the education about what a county is and what it does.
All right. I'm gonna call upon our employee army, right, to help, right? Help get out the word, like who we are, right? And really share the extent of the work that we do in the county and how we really help improve lives. Some of the conversations that these folks will have listened to with some of our department heads, it's been impressive. Like, our Jackie Contreras, right? Judge Songhai, like Kristen Sako, like these are folks who work closely with the county,
Yep.
our county departments and our county family and folks in the community.
Yeah.
And so just know that that's coming from the county. That help is coming from the county. And it starts with our board.
Yeah.
It really does.
And those are the parts, they're out there.
Yes.
And so how do we highlight them in a holistic manner where people understand, it's like, this is what they do.
Yeah.
And I think it's stories like what you're doing now. We got to tell these stories.
Yeah. What advice would you give someone who wants to be in a leadership role, growing up in the county? Let's say they're new, they've been here at the county for, here in the county, we consider you new if you're less than 5 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The vesting thing and all of that. But
Yeah.
what would be your advice to a relatively new county employee that's listening right now to how they should move forward in their career here in the county?
I think what I've learned is that if you want to be a leader, you really have to care about people. Because if you move through your career just focusing on only advancement, you're missing what the purpose of being a leader and being a manager is. If you don't have that passion, it's going to be so much harder on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
My time moves so fast in a day because I'm constantly thinking about what am I going to do to help serve the constituents? How can I serve the board to help serve the constituents? But another part of it is just what can I do to make my employees' lives better?
Yeah.
Because all that work that gets done, I don't do it. They do it.
Yeah.
And so if I have to give them the resources and tools, then my job is how to figure out to give them the resources and tools to get the job done. And if you don't have that mindset, then it's going to be really difficult because the higher up you go, you're not doing the work. You're working with the people who are doing the work. And so we all have to focus on the people.
Got it. I appreciate that. Focus on the people.
Yeah.
Lead with service in mind, right? Public service in mind.
Yep.
And that'll take you far here in this county.
Good intention.
All right. Hey Eddie, that's it.
All right.
I appreciate you, brother, for joining us
Thank you very much.
and sharing a little bit. I hope our county employees have gotten to know just a little bit more about you and about where you're going. I'm looking forward to seeing all that you're intending to do that I know will be done. Right?
Appreciate it.
All right,
Thank you
my
for this
man.
opportunity. Thank
you
you
got
very
it.
much.
Thanks, Eddie.
All right.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
you, sir.
All right.